Right, short date and learn objective, please, and then we'll crack on with the work. Okay, pause the video while you're doing that. Right, okay, so actually the work today, although we haven't done any ordering of decimals, and you will have definitely done that before, and we're going to be doing rounding decimals, which you would have probably done before, but we've certainly done this year. Okay, so we're kind of going to go through 2 chapters in one lesson here, so I'll go fairly quickly. So if there's any problems, just give me a call if you're not too sure about how to do anything. Okay, so let's start with 6.04172, and then we've got 6.047, and we have to decide which is the larger out of these 2 numbers. Okay, which is the biggest out of these 2 numbers. Okay, so we're going to put our sign, our less than or greater than sign. Okay, so remember when we're doing these, okay, firstly we do look at the whole numbers. They're the same, so I'm basically deciding which one is the biggest, isn't it? The first thing I'm going to look at is the tenth, and if the whole numbers are the same, and they won't always be, the whole numbers, I'm going to look at the tenths. Okay, and I can see here the tenths are the same as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is look at the hundredths column, isn't it? Okay, so I'm looking at the hundredths, and these are the same. So now I move to the thousandths column. Okay, the thousandths column. Now in this one, it's just a 1 in that one. In this one, it is a 7. Okay, so that makes this the bigger number. Sorry, thousandths column. Although this looks as if it could be, so you could be fooled because it's got more numbers in the end. Actually, it is not a bigger number because this has no tenths, same 6, no tenths, 4 hundredths, and 1 thousandth. This has 6 whole numbers, no tenths, 4 hundredths, and 7 thousandths. So this is the bigger number, and remember your crocodile, it's the biggest number. Okay, right. So the thing to remember as well with these is that when you've got a list of them is ascending and descending. So ascending order. So you ascend a mountain from the bottom to the top. Okay, you ascend a mountain from the bottom to the top. So that's smallest to biggest. You can make a note of these actually in your books, please. Smallest to biggest. If you think you're not too sure, or you're the sort of person who can forget them. Okay, then you get descending. So when you're at the top of the mountain, you descend downwards. So it's the biggest to the smallest. Okay, so that's important. You must remember that. Okay, very often when you mark tests, you see that people have they know what they're doing. Okay, but they kind of get their sort of ascending and descending mixed up. Okay, so let's have a look at these 3 numbers. Okay, let's go with 5.123, 5.17, 5.121, and you're asked to put these in ascending order. Okay, ascending, we're starting with the smallest. Okay, start with the smallest. So they've all got 5s. Okay, they've all got 0.1. So I'm looking at the hundredths column. So I'm starting with the smallest. So the 100. So there's a 2. That's a 7. And that's a 2. So straight away I know this is going to be the biggest number. Okay. So actually I think I'll put that in just at the end because I know that's going to be the biggest number. Okay. Now, which is the smallest out of these? So we are 1, 2, 3. Okay. So again, the hundredths are the same, and then the thousandths. So this is the smallest, isn't it? So it becomes 5.121. Okay, and then we've got 5.123. So there we go. So that's how we are ordering. It's a little bit different with negative numbers. Okay, and this negative numbers actually is really easy to get caught out. So minus 3.2, and then minus 2.6. Okay, which is the biggest number here? Okay, you decide which is the biggest. Which way will your crocodile point? Okay, which number will your crocodile eat? Which is the biggest? Now the temptation is to go this way, isn't it? Because 3 is bigger than 2, but actually that isn't the case with negative numbers. If we think of our temperature gauge, okay? If we think of our temperature gauge, okay, and we've got 0 here, and then we've got 1, 2, 3. Now you can see the higher up you are, now this is the very bottom of the temperature gauge, the higher up you are, yeah, the bigger the number. So if we look here, we've got -1, -2, -3, -4. Now, 1 is -1, sorry, is closer to 0. So that means it is bigger than -4, okay? In essence, if you think of it as temperature, the warmer the temperature, the bigger the number, isn't it? The more heat there is, okay? The greater the heat, so the greater the number, okay? So -1 is bigger than -3 because it's closer to 0, isn't it? Okay. So it's a really important one to remember. It's one that's easy to forget. If you look at my number line, so I've got here is somewhere roughly around where 2.6, actually a little bit lower than that, and then 3.2 will be here. 2.6 is closer to 0, so that is the bigger number, okay? 2.6 would be warmer, so it's the bigger number, okay? So just be careful with those, okay? Right, so let's quickly, we'll just do time. Okay, yeah, that's okay. So let's very quickly do this. So we've got -2.7, -3.5, -2.2, and you could be asked to put this into, what did we do last time? So we'll put this one into descending. Okay, so I'm finding the biggest number first. So which is closest to 0? This one, isn't it? Okay, that's closest to 0, -2.2. That's the furthest away from 0, so that will be the smallest number, remember to put the minus in, and then -2.7. So descending, that's the biggest number. Okay, so just be a little bit careful because it can be confusing with negative numbers. Right, what I'd like you to do, please, have a go at these first 4 questions, putting them into the orders you've been asked. Okay, putting them into the orders you've been asked. Okay, right, and pause the video and do these in your book, please. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, press play when you have finished them. Right, let's have a little look. So ascending order means we're going from the smallest to the biggest, isn't it? So they've all got 18 on them. Okay, all got 18. So then we go with 18.4. Oh, there's an 18.9. So straight away, I've got 18.4, 18.4, 18.4. So I can see 18.9 is the biggest. Actually, I'm just going to put that in there. 18.91, 42, and cross that off. Okay, and then let's go with, so now I'm going to find the smallest, so 18.4, and then there's nothing there, 18.49, so 18.4 is going to be the smallest, okay, and now between these two, so I got, again, 18.4, 18.4, and then even 2 is going to be smaller, isn't it? So 18.429, and then 18.49. And then ascending, I'm finding the smallest here. So remember, the smallest is going to be the number which is the furthest away from 0. So 0.1 is going to be close by 1. 0.7, that's quite a long way away. 0.1, 0.73. So this is going to be the smallest number, 0.73, sorry, minus. Then it's going to be the minus 0.7. And then, so I've got those two out of the way. Now, which is going to be the furthest away, 0.17 is in minus 0.17, and then minus 0.13, and then minus 0.107. Okay, right, very quickly on these last ones. Okay, so I probably should just write the answer straight in. So descending, the biggest, now this is the trick one with the 13, so the 13.132 is the biggest. Okay, I wonder if anyone fell for that little trap. Then the next biggest is 0.9, 12.92, okay, 12.9, 12.874, and then the last one, okay, the descending order, so the biggest number is 0 minus 0.2, then minus 0.203, minus 0.24, minus 0.29, minus 0.291. Okay, mark those quickly. Okay, right, let's move on from ordering. Okay, we'll be applying those later on. Okay, you will be applying that knowledge later on. Right, so rounding, and again, I know that I've touched on rounding a few times when we were doing decimals at the beginning of the year, things like that, and occasionally I've shown this, but let's do a proper lesson on it. So let's start with rounding to the nearest whole. So if I've got 39.5111 and I want to round that number to the nearest whole number first, so let's write that to the nearest whole. So on with these, okay, I find if I to the nearest whole, I underline my whole number. So I underline my unit and I do a line after it. So in this one, I do my line at the decimal point, and I just ask myself, okay, will the 5 affect the 9? Now, if this, remember the rules with rounding, if it's 5 and above, you round up. If it's 4 or below, you round down, okay? So clearly this 5 will affect that 9, okay, because it's 5 and above, so that 9, and then I just think of this as a 39, so the answer to this is 40. Now, because it's the nearest whole number, I'm rounding to the nearest whole number, I don't put a decimal point in, and I do not put any zeros, okay, so the answer to that one is 40, to the nearest whole number, okay. I find my whole number and I do my line, okay. Now let's do one to one decimal place, to one decimal place. So DP stands for decimal place. So say I've got this 4.34996 to one decimal place. So I count one number after the decimal place, okay? And then I do my line straight after it. Now only this number 4, I ignore all these, they don't matter at all. I don't start rounding from here. I just round from the number just this side of my line. So it's 1 to one decimal place. And does the 4 affect the 3? Well, 4 and below, it stays the same. So my answer to this one is 4.3. Now it's really important I put nothing after this, after the 3. It asks for one decimal place, so I just give them one number after the decimal point. No more than that, okay? So 2 decimal places. So once, if we can do really, then once you've got this method, you can kind of do as many decimal places as you want. 2 decimal places, okay. Let's put it properly. So again, all I do, I count 1, 2 numbers after the decimal point, and then I draw my line, okay. So I'm only want 2 numbers after the decimal point. Does the 5 affect the 9? Well, it does, because 5 and above, you round up. 4 and below stays the same, isn't it? So again, that 9, it doesn't become a 10. So at this point, I'm thinking of this as 59. I'm going to add 1 to it to get 60. 17.60. Now, it's really important I put that 0 this time, okay? Okay, I know that 17.6 and 17.60 has the same value, but if it asks for 2 numbers after the decimal point, 2 numbers after the decimal, I give them 2 numbers, okay? So 17.60 is my answer there. And surprise, surprise, when I go to 3 numbers after the decimal point, okay, so I've got 19.95342. So if I was asking for 3 numbers, I just go 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal point, and that's where I do my line, okay? Will this 4 affect the 3? Well, 4 and below, it stays the same. 5 and above, we round up, don't we? So because this is stays the same, yeah, this is 4, so this is going to stay the same, so that just stays there, and I'm giving 3 numbers after the decimal point. All right, okay, have a go, please. Okay, and again, any problems with these, I'm rushing through them fairly quickly, but I think we sort of know how to do them anyway. So can you have a go at these? Question 5, okay, round this number to, first of all, so it's this number to, first of all, to the nearest whole number, then to 1 decimal place, then 2 decimal places, then 3 decimal places. So you're rounding this number here, this number, in 4 different ways. Nearest, 1, 2, 3. Pause the video while you do that, please. Press play when you're done. Right, let's have a look to the nearest whole number. So again, because it's the nearest whole number, that's my whole, the units. And I do my line here. Will the 4 affect the 7? No. Okay, so actually 147 stays the same. So the answer is 147. And I do not put any decimal points after, okay, because it's asking for the nearest whole number. So I just give a whole number. Nothing but the whole number, 147. To 1 decimal place, okay, so I count 1 number after the decimal point, and I put my line in, okay. Does this 9 affect the 4? Well, yeah, it's 5 and above, so that becomes a 5, isn't it? So it's 147.5, okay. Let's rub those bits out, okay. Right, so to 2 decimal places, count 1, 2 numbers after the decimal point, and then do my line. Does that 3 affect it? Well, no, it's 4 or below, so these are going to stay the same. So 147.49, okay. Let's then look to 3 decimal places, so the same rules apply. 1, 2, 3. I'll mark my 3rd number after the decimal point. I'll put my line in. Is the 6 going to affect the 3? Well, it's 5 or above, so yes, it is. So this 3 becomes a 4. Okay, this 3 becomes a 4. So I've got 147.494. So you can see each time in the nearest whole number, there's no numbers after the decimal point. I have to give them 1, 2, 3, and I'm just doing my rounding. Okay, right, that'll do us there. Now, please go back to the portal. On there are instructions about the questions I would like us to do, please. The instructions of the questions I'd like to do. We've got plenty of time to get plenty of these done. Okay, right, good luck with that, everyone. Bye.